My name is Audrey Mwala. I am a founder of a company called Sycamore Credit Limited. This is a microfinance company, but also another company called Sycamore Concert Limited. This is a training and consulting company. So my background is in finance, and for the past 24 years, I have worked for a government entity called the Public-Private Partnership Commission. So here I was working in infrastructure development because we were mandated as an institution to develop infrastructure using private sector resources. And I have been in this institution for 24 years, but I retired. I went for early voluntary retirement in June this year to work full time on the two businesses that I founded, Sycamore Concert Limited and Sycamore Credit Limited.
On the surface, we might have nothing much in common, but the moment we start listening to ourselves, it quickly becomes obvious how interconnected and relatable we truly are, even across different creeds, orientation, ethnicities, and professions. This is probably what separates us from other species on Earth, the power of storytelling. Now, if today, this very moment is all you have to share your story, what would you say? Hi, I'm Obehi and we are here to share and to learn from each other. Enjoy the podcast and share with those who might need it. You say you went on a voluntary pension. Can you tell us something about pension? Because of course we are talking of Malawi, and there are some Malawi outside probably who want to hear about the pension plan, the scheme, and the benefit that is available in their country. How does it work?
Yeah, so actually, pension is one thing that I deal with every day because we have one of our modules that we train under the training and consulting company is retirement planning. So we really teach people how to plan for your retirement. But in terms of the pension, in Malawi, we have the Pensions Act of 2010, which provides that when you retire, you're going to be entitled to 40% of your against what you currently have, and then the remaining 60% will be given to you as annual annuities, every month. So essentially, we are on the type of pension where at first we used to have the guarantee where the employer was guaranteeing you a specific amount, but at the moment we are on a contributory pension scheme where you take the risk of investment. So you don't really know what you're going to get until the end, because it all depends on the risk. Essentially, in Malawi, most people, when they retire, they end up getting about 20% of what they used to get as annuity. That's the amount that they receive every month. If they choose to commute, they are 20%, they are 40%. If they don't commute, usually they'll be getting maybe about 30%. But as you can appreciate, it's far less than what one would want, because that's what only 30% of what you used to receive as a salary. The pension environment is a little bit difficult because we don't have any other additional benefits apart from the annuities that you'll be getting and the money that you got, the 20%, the 40%, which sometimes tends to be a problem when people access it. They end up investing it in things which they thought was going to bring them profits. In the end, they just lose it all, and they are completely cut off money because they don't have any other source besides the small annuities that will be coming every month.
All right. From your experience, from your client, of course, you have been working in this sector for a very long time, so you understand definitely how the people live with this pension. Do you think at the end of the day, what they get from their pension benefits is able to sustain their life, or are there other means for their survival? Of course, when they can no longer work anymore, when they are in pension.
Not many people. Actually, I should say most people that are working in Malawi, the majority are just a salary away from being cash strapped. The reality is that a number of people have made a couple of investments in real estate, but then the amount of money that comes every month is nowhere near enough to sustain their lifestyle. So it works while they are working because they have an income, they have another way of survival, and that income just comes as a top up. But the moment they leave working, you suddenly discover that yes, we may be asset rich, but in terms of the cash flow, it's not enough. And that's a big problem that we try to teach under the training that we do on retirement planning for people to understand the issues of creating cash flow generating activities that will keep them going. So the reality is that most people would really struggle. They do struggle actually.
Mhm. And I want to believe that maybe in part of your training, part of your re-education program, you also sort of involving something like complementary pension so that people sort of build up income for themselves so that when they go on pension, instead of depending on only the part that is coming from the government. In fact, I'm very happy that even there in Malawi, you have something that is working. In some other places, it's not even there at all. The pension sometimes is eaten by some individual in the name of corruption. No? That the money that was supposed to be given to the people, it is not given to them. Somebody will just use the money and do for himself, instead of giving it to the people that have been working for all their life. So I don't know if you can explain this part to me. Important.
Yeah, certainly. We teach people how to plan for their pension using alternative sources of pension planning besides what they're doing. So one of them is the pension itself. And hearing what you're saying, that in other countries people don't get their pension, I must be very grateful that here in Malawi we do get our pension. So one of the ways we teach people to plan is to augment what they would have received if it wasn't if they didn't do anything, what they would have received was going to be less. So we teach people how to augment their voluntary pension contributions so that they have more money the time they are retiring. But then we also teach the people to create additional ways or parallel ways of retiring to create income. So we give them the different investment policies that they can make in insurance policies, other alternative pension policies besides the mandatory one. We also teach people the other investments into real estate and investing on the stock exchange, but also investing in other monetary instruments like treasury bills, treasury bonds, and to also create other activities that can help them to create income, which are into different entrepreneurship ventures, which they can do, and different saving instruments. So we do have a variety of options which people can use to create income. Actually, our training comprises of experts in pension, but also in the stock exchange, as well as the insurance industry and entrepreneurship, who bring together a lot of wealth of experience to teach people. And by the time someone is done with our training, they know the A to Z. In fact, they know more than the A to Z of pension. But also the other thing about the pension training is also about mindset change, because what we teach people is not the ordinary way of just handling the pension, but we also emphasize on mindset change and the wealth creation. So we emphasize on the opportunities to actually retire and be wealthy, compared to the normal teaching where you expected that when you retire, it's just a sunset time. You just have to use the little money that you have and say goodbye to this world.
All right, that is interesting. Of course, later we're going to be moving into microfinancing businesses and all that. But before we get there, I think this is really very important in Africa today that we are trying to look into this area because these people, they've contributed a lot into the society. At the end of the day, somebody must take care of them. At least the system must be working in a way that their life should be taken care of through their effort. But of course, I know that only a very small percentage of the people of the population are actually working and therefore have the pension benefit. Because if you were a farmer, I don't know if if you were a farmer, you are not employed. I don't know if that is a kind of a benefit that is going to be available for you, or maybe I'm wrong. Help me, rescue me.
Yeah, no, if you are a farmer and you're not employed, if you are going to just go on with your business without knowledge, it would be a problem, because if anything happened, you'll be in trouble. But then, like in the trainings that we do, we also bring in other alternative pension schemes that one can join if they are not employed. So there are pension schemes that you can come and you sort of create your own pension plan. So there are several products that we also show people that they can use for them. But you need to know, because the problem is that a lot of people don't know. And on the other hand, you've talked about the farmer. We also create opportunities for them to know other alternative investments on the money market and the capital market. Because you can be a farmer, yes, but maybe there will be a time when you have retired and you are not able to continue creating that income that you get from the farm. So the other alternative investments that we bring are an instrument that will help you. So while you are in your farming, then it means you have to start making the investments. And the interesting thing about investments is that it works over a long period of time. So we teach them to start investing early and wait, be patient. And that's the only way wealth gets created, even for as a retirement pension, a fund for a farmer.
That is good. If you are investing, you must know that you need to be patient. It is what they
Yeah,
call
very,
compound interest. It doesn't happen
yeah.
overnight.
No, it doesn't work that way at
Uh,
all.
uh,
It doesn't work.
okay. All right. So you were a government employee. You were working in the infrastructural aspect of the company you were working in. But then you will now move to or where you have two companies. So in this channel, in this podcast, we usually advise people to concentrate or to work to develop their own passion, to develop it into business. So when we hear somebody that have transit from be an employee to be employers, having your own business is something that we really pay attention to. So help us. How hard is transition be for you? Because people are interested in that part.
Yeah, well, transition is very hard. And I must say that it was not easy for me as well, because it starts with the psychology. So the first part is to deal with the reality that one day I'll have to leave my job and work. It becomes a little more difficult even for people that have been in high positions. Like myself, I have been able to rise to a position of acting chief executive officer for our organization. And in that, it creates some chains that would be very difficult to break, because at those high positions, it means the company is giving you a good salary, but also is giving you some benefits that become the ghosts that scare you to leave the employment. One of the biggest benefits that most people struggle with, which I myself also had to think through very, very seriously, is in positions like those, you get a benefit of your children being sent to good schools and the company is paying. And besides the other benefits like the vehicle, medical, and all these things are really, really scary to live. So I can understand if someone is scared, because I myself have also been scared. But to conquer my fear, that's when I decided to start the process of entrepreneurship while I was still working. And it wasn't, it also didn't just start with the companies that I'm talking about here. I started way back, where I started different types of businesses that all of them are not here today. They all failed. So it was a matter of making sure that I keep trying different things until I found something that worked very well. I also started with creating, because the reason why people are scared of leaving their jobs is, how do I sustain my life if I leave my job? So what I did was to create a way of sustaining my life. So I started making some investments that should create cash flow to allow me to use that cash flow to replace the money that I had when I leave. And that included investments on the stock exchange and investments in real estate and the other businesses that I have. So that's something that I would do, that I did. And the reason why I was able to get to a point of saying I am leaving my job was because when I looked at the investments, they came up as a buffer that if the entrepreneurship doesn't work, I still have some money that I can survive on for a while I'm trying to figure out what to do next. So that's why one of the modules we teach in personal finance is financial discipline. That's why it is important to have that financial discipline to be able to save and to invest, because that's what will enable you. Because for me, if I never had any immediate source of income and I was only thinking about entrepreneurship as what will get me going, I wouldn't have left. I would have been scared, because I know in entrepreneurship, things are never straight, and especially when you are at the beginning, you have challenges. But I knew that if I can't get a salary from any of the companies, at least I know I have other investments that can allow me to earn a living while waiting for the salary that could come from my two companies.
Mm-hmm. In fact, like you already even have the entrepreneurial spirit, no? Because of course it's different from an employee spirit in that, yeah, of course I'm using spirit, but actually mean mindset, no? The kind of thinking, your way of seeing things, no? In that you started some businesses that failed, but you still continue to try, no? Try more and try more. What was encouraging you to do this? Because this is something that entrepreneurs usually do often. No? As an employee, you might say, okay, well, I've tried, let it go. But if you are really the one who is business minded, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, you continue because you know where you are going. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think like you're saying that the entrepreneurship spirit is indeed in me. And this is something that is a spirit that has to be in many people. If you met me maybe 10 years ago, I would have been scared because I had not, because for you to have the entrepreneurship spirit, you need to go through a mind transformation process. And you also need to go through a heart transformation process. That's when you receive the spirit of entrepreneurship. So when you go through the deprogramming of the employee mindset to the mindset of the employer, of the employer or an entrepreneur, you begin to see things from a different set of eyes. For instance, right now, if I open a newspaper, what I'm going to see are consulting opportunities. But before, if you don't have the entrepreneurship spirit, when you open a newspaper, you're going to see employment opportunities. So you'll be focused on looking for where is the job. But for me, if I get even an alert on LinkedIn about a job, I will not open it. But if I get one about a training opportunity or consulting or an opportunity in microfinance, that's what will interest me. But you have to go through the mindset transformation. So it's a process. Actually, it's a process that I would encourage, that before you go into entrepreneurship, you need to go through that. So for me, when I started the businesses a long time ago, actually the first business that I started with was a restaurant in our city. It never worked out. At that time, I still had the employee mind, because I had not fully understand the risks. I thought the business was going to give me, I thought I was going to plant a mango tree and have mangoes in the evening. So I think that's the expectation I had. But I had to learn very, very quickly that it doesn't take that way. But because I had not yet planned properly, I did not have the cash flow and the systems to back it up so that it should continue, and it collapsed. I went into a stationary business. I went into car hire business. And I also went, actually, this one was more hands-on with my husband into a farming business. They didn't work out, but through there, we learned some lessons on what to do and what not to do. The entrepreneurship spirit that I have has been from studying the biographies of successful people. If you think about people like Walt Disney, the owner of Disneyland, you see how many times he failed. You see that there was a time he even went and filed for bankruptcy. And but then eventually it works. So when you have been baptized with this entrepreneurship spirit, you know very well that challenges are simply a process. So, but then if you're doing it for the first time, like I did myself, you would quit because I did the restaurant and I saw it didn't work. Then I stopped. So my journey has been, you try, it fails, then you stop, and then you try to figure out, you try again. But now, because I have learned a lot, I have learned enough. What I am doing now is to realize that entrepreneurship is about problem solving. So now I am not at a point where I can give up, but I'm at a point where I'll keep on looking for solutions to the problem that I have so that the business still continues. And that's the entrepreneurship spirit, because the moment you start, you have problems and you have them continuously. So if you have the entrepreneurship spirit, you will understand that if you don't have a problem, then you should just know that one is coming shortly, or you are blind to the problem that you should have been dealing with, because there will be problems every time there is a problem you have to solve.
I love that. That is really very important. Yesterday, I did an interview, very interesting one, with an educationist in South Africa, and we're looking at education in Africa. Of course, that was in another. We have another channel where we deal with issues related to Africa leadership and things like that. The guy brought out something very interesting. I call it solution-based learning education. That was the topic I proposed. In the course of the conversation, he brought us an argument that was very interesting, a twist of it, which he called problem-based learning. In that, in the society that you live in, you need to see the problems. And as a business person, now let's move away from education to business now. You need to prefer solution to this problem. Because if you can prefer solution to the problem, now people can pay you. Because you are basically going to the market and say, okay, you have a problem, I have the solution. Because if that is not what you have, I don't know why people need to give you money. Because if that is what you have, then you deserve the reward, which is the money at the end of the day.
Yes.
Now having said that, tell me, how easy is it in Malawi to set up business? How easy? What are the process? I mean, for young people, for example, or maybe housewives that are at home. Anyway, I know that African women are generally very innovative in terms of business, but sometimes the system doesn't work in their interest in most of the cases. But generally speaking, because you are in this area, how easy it is to start off new businesses in Malawi?
Well, I think businesses are at different levels. You have a business where you just do it informally. So the informal one is not very complicated, but it's just a question of you looking at what you want, and you start trading or you start manufacturing what you want. The informal one is a little bit easier. I think the more difficult one is when you want to formalize, because you have a lot of licenses that you need, the payments you need to make to the lawyers, the capital that you need. And oftentimes when you formalize, you have to look at formal rental offices where you have to be planning for the cash flow for that. So it's a little bit difficult, and but it is possible. So it is possible when you are aware of what you need to do. The challenge that I see mostly in Malawi is that starting a business, most people would like to do it alone. And that creates a problem because you are limited in terms of the capital that you can bring and the skills that you can bring on the table. So the one important aspect of starting a business is it works better if you have an opportunity of other people that can bring money to you, but also people that you can work with. As you can see that the two companies that I set up, I set them up while I was away, but there were people that were working in there and I was just overseeing them from a distance. And until I was ready to go and join full time to make sure that things are taking shape. So it's not easy from a capital point of view as well. Accessing credit is a very difficult process because usually you need to have a demonstrable income source for servicing the loan, but also you need to have collateral. That becomes a very big problem for most people. And as you have noticed when I was talking about how I prepared, one of the things was to invest in real estate because most financial institutions, they prefer to have real estate as collateral for them to give you a credit facility. It's interesting that when I was setting up the company, I raised capital in two forms, both companies actually. The first one I used, the first time was equity. So for me to raise equity, it also relied on the credibility that I have among the circles that were ready to put their money in my hands. That is a very important thing that I would like to just bring across here for the entrepreneurs or the would-be entrepreneurs that are looking for raising capital. There is need to demonstrate that you are faithful, you are creditworthy, you can be trusted with other people's money. I was surprised when I saw people, some of them that I'm not very close to, but they were ready to give me their millions of kwachas to put into this company, and they trust that I will handle it properly. So it's because I had presented myself in a way that I could be trusted. So that allowed me to raise equity. But now I needed to raise loan financing for the microfinance. Again, the issue of collateral came in. What I noticed, which I find very, very interesting, was that the banks were not ready to finance my company because they saw it as a startup and they don't know it. But interestingly, the very same banks were ready to finance me. So they were ready to let me get the money and lend it to my company, but I am the borrower. And that's what I did at the beginning, where I borrowed and then invested in my company. So again, it boils down to your creditworthiness, but also your ability to pay off the money. But one thing that I should also emphasize is that when you're accessing credit facilities from financial institutions, you need to have what I call paid your school fees first. It's a long and complicated winded subject, which I will not go into detail, but we talk about it in the entrepreneurship trainings that we do. But the point is, for you to get a loan from a bank and you want to put it in a business, you need to start paying the bank. But you know very well that a business is like a mango tree. You cannot plant a mango tree and you expect the tree to bear fruits immediately, that you can take the mangoes back to the bank. So that creates a need for you to have an alternative source of income. So this is something that I'm calling the school fees. In other words, for you to qualify and be able to service a credit facility, you need to have paid your school fees earlier, where you have now from that school fees, it's giving you the revenue stream that will pay the credit facility while the investment is in its infancy until it grows and it's able to pay. And secondly, you also need to have the collateral that will allow you to use to access the credit facility, because without it, unfortunately, most financial institutions will not be willing to look at you.
how flexible or how accessible is the Malawian credit system? Say, I understand if you don't have the credibility, no bank is going to give you money anyway, anywhere, no. But say, there are sometimes some laws can be made to sort of favor the growth of certain businesses. For this reason, if you are going into this area, you might have credit easily. I remember one time, that was a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I was interviewing a business consultant here in Italy, following the issue of COVID-19 and all the things that have happened to the Italian economy. So he was explaining to me how the Italian economy will try to favor certain section of the economy. For this reason, if you are asking credit for this area, it will become easier for you respect to maybe a few years ago if you were asking credit in the same area. So maybe sometimes certain law can be made to favor certain section of the economy. For this reason, it might become more easier to access credit in those areas. So I'm trying to ask if there are some possibility like that, or all of them are just the same all the time.
Yeah. Well, we at Sycamore Credit, the microfinance company that we have, we provide credit facilities to people that cannot, most of the time, cannot qualify to get the credit facilities from the commercial banking. So the low income people, we look at the group lending as collateral because they don't really have collateral. So that is available. There is no law per se that says provide credit facilities for this group, but what I've seen recently is that the government has accessed a certain credit facility from World Bank, which they want to also extend the same to boost entrepreneurship in Malawi. So there is a program called Financial Inclusion Program where people can access those credit facilities. Actually, our organization, Sycamore Credit, is handling part of that, where we are looking for entrepreneurs that could be supported under that program through our company. So there is no law per se, but there are initiatives which government is trying to help entrepreneurs come on board.
What is your approach of being able to obtain credit from credit source, say maybe a bank or whoever is financing the project?
Yeah, I think the approach mostly is about your ability to looking at your ability to service the credit. So it starts with your past record and then going to your future projections. Ideally, there's plenty of money in the banks, but they are looking for people that will be able to pay. So the approach really is to look at your projected cash flows in terms of your ability to pay, but also looking at the collateral available, which is going to be very difficult for someone who does not have collateral. That's why I was saying that it's a long story, because you first of all have to start from afar. For you to be able to access credit facility anytime is a combination of what you are able to pay, but also what you can put on the table as collateral in terms of risk management. So this is also another topic that we teach, one of the modules that we teach in personal finance, where we teach about debt management skills and how to create wealth from debt. But the fundamental part of it is your readiness and your ability. So those two factors matter a lot. So the readiness is the collateral part. Your ability is the alternative income and also the backup income.
All right. Now, for young Malawian or maybe people who are just starting out in business who want to get fund for their business, where should they go? I know you have mentioned of the bank before. I don't want to believe that bank is the only means of finance for or business. So which other area are available there, including the bank actually? I mean, where should young Malawian go for money to finance their project?
Ideally, the young Malawians can look at the people that they know, people that trust them, people that can give them capital. I know I'm not young, but I'll just give the example. that when I was starting up the business, the consulting business, what I did was to set up everything formally, and then maybe I should start with the other business so that because it falls in sequence. When I was let's start with the credit facility, the credit company. So what I did was to get a loan myself and then put it in the business, but that was nowhere near to run a microfinance company. Then what I did was to look among my circle, people that would trust me to bring money on the table. And I found 3 of them, and we ended up 4 shareholders. That's how the company started. So from there, it's another story where we added. But coming to the other company, the consulting company, what I did was to start doing the trainings to people for free. So I started creating my name as a brand, as somebody that knows about personal finance management. So when people were getting interested in what I am teaching, then I employed one person and put a desk in the other company for that one person. But it was a totally different company, a properly registered company, but with only one employee. So what I was doing was to take my own salary, transfer it into the company account, and then that would be paid to my employee as a salary. And I was continuing like that until the company started generating income on its own. But what I did also was to go to my friends. I developed a business plan and my financial projections and went to my friends, and I got one person who is close to me that trusted me to use the money. This is a friend of mine that I knew in high school. So I have known this person for about 30 years now. So maybe that's something that I would also say, that maybe when you have friends, try as much as possible to build very, very strong relationship, because this friend of mine was ready to risk her millions just because she knows me and she knows that I would be faithful with her money. I also sold the idea to one person who is the chief executive of one bank here in Malawi. I am not very close to her, but I noticed that she was willing to bring money on the table, even double the amount that my friend brought. So as you can see, that the training and consulting company has never approached any financial institution for finance, but I was able to do it among my peers. So it's something that one can start from. As you notice that I didn't start with the capital, all of it, but I just started with the little that I have. So in terms of Malawians, the young people, as I said, they could take advantage of the program that I talked earlier, where there's promotion for entrepreneurship in Malawi, but also look among your friends to see who can come and bring in capital. But I've also learned that not all businesses start with capital as in money. It's possible to have a business where you're just using your expertise and you are getting paid for that. So be good at something, but you can also go into the other business where you are selling other people's things to start the initial capital. I think for me, I think the ways that could be applicable to young people would be that, because most young people would not have built the collateral that would help in accessing the credit facilities, but then using friends and family. And to be honest, there are some people who could get capital from family friends if they prove to be serious in the business, but also if they prove to be faithful. The biggest problem that most people fail to get capital is the issue of faithfulness. So when, for example, if you have a brother and you know this brother is working very hard, they are into this business, but it's failing because there is no money. It's possible that you can find that brother if you see that they are serious. But sometimes the other problem is that young people self-sabotage. They actually would misuse the money. They would be unfaithful. They will not pay back the money. That's why it also becomes a problem for people to trust them. But at Sycamore, we also have another program called the Booze, where we've brought together some people that have got money that can fund some business ideas and businesses that are credible. But the aspect of seriousness and faithfulness is always extremely important.
All right. Really, it's really unfortunate that we don't have much time because there are many things I would like to ask you, but maybe this is going to be for another day. But just quickly, is there ways to ask for credit the right way and ways to ask the wrong way? Can you share this part with us as we are moving towards the end of this short podcast?
Yeah, I think there is the right way and the wrong way, because the wrong way, the right way would be when you are going out to ask for credit while you are credit ready. So being credit ready comprises of many things, but some of them include you as an individual. Uh, are you showing that you are faithful, you can be trusted? Secondly, do you have a concrete business idea that can be trusted, that it can be funded? Or do you already have an existing business that simply needs capital boost? So if you are asking because you have something that is sure that it will bring a return to the creditor or to the investor, or to pay back the loan, then that is the right way of asking credit. But then I have seen people are looking for credit facilities when they don't have an idea. They don't know what they want to do, or they just have a dream which they haven't really concretized. They expect other people to just fund them from that dream. It's not going to work. So the right way of credit is for you, because you need to be in a position where people are seeing that you are doing something and you are ready. And I would also say it's always important to put it in writing, because people want to see it, that you have some document that they can interrogate and understand. One way of credit is also that when you are accessing credit, you should be sure that you are putting it straight into the business, because the other wrong way is to get credit and you want to put it into infrastructure, or infrastructure could be offices or vehicles that they themselves are not an income generator. But you need to get credit that will go straight into productivity, because that money has to be paid back. You can get credit for infrastructure, but it has to come later. This is what we call the front end versus the back end business. So when you are asking for credit, if you want it for the back end, you are unlikely going to get credit. But if you say, I have this project and I have this contract, I need financing straight for this contract, you are likely going to get the credit, compared to say, I have this idea to start this business and I first of all want to find office space. People are not going to give you credit for that. So it's also important to look at the credit facilities should go straight into a money making machine. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Like I was saying before, because of time constraint, we're going to cut the podcast from here. But I really would have wished we have more time, because there are more things I would like to ask you. But anyway, yeah, that is fine. I thank you so much for your time. What would be your final reflection on this argument? Like we're talking about microfinancing. What for say maybe for example somebody look at this small piece in the conversation, well at least you can still take something away from it. What would be the final thing? Could be a message, could be something you wanted to say I didn't ask you. Please go to conclude it.
Yeah, well, what I can say is that microfinancing is a great initiative that's there to make a difference in the lives of people, which ideally would not have had an opportunity to get financing from the main street banking. At the same time, microfinancing is very, very risky because you are dealing with people that the banks don't want to look at. The banks, their job is to give money to people, and they have a lot of it to give it out. The reason why they would not want to give to people that go to microfinance is because of the risk. So what I would say is that people that are into microfinance are taking a lot of risk, but for them to stay in business, it also requires that the borrowers should also understand the risk that their lenders are taking, and ensure that they service their loans, because that becomes a problem to the microfinance sector. Because if you are failing to collect, you are likely going to fail. And oftentimes, most microfinance institutions are not deposit taking. So you rely on the very same money that you lend it out, and it has to go back. So if people are not paying back, then it becomes a problem to the microfinance sector because it will collapse.
All right. Now you speak about your company and what you are offering in the market. We have somebody here that have watched this video to this point might like to connect with you. So, which are the areas to connect with you? How will people get to meet you to know more about what you do?
Well, they can send an email. My email is amwala@sycamore.com. So amwala@sycamore.com. But they can also connect with me on my LinkedIn page, Audrey Mwala, or indeed my Facebook page, Audrey Mwala as well. I also have a phone number which they can connect me with, and it's +265 99138877 9. So that's 265 +265 99138877 9. That's my contact.
All right. Thank you very much, dear Audrey. I really appreciate the time that you spend here and to explain this important issue for us. I learned a lot of things from you, and I believe also the people that are watching us, they also learn a lot from me. So I really want to thank you for your time. See that time is not our friend today, but okay, we still benefit a lot from you. So I really want to say thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.